Howdy y'all, this is Christi with Little Salty Homesteader. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. I am a backyard gardener in Zone 8A in North Texas, and today I have my sweet pea Lily joining me. If this is not your first time joining me, welcome back. I'm so happy you're all here. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I do my seed starting. I know that there are a million other videos out there, but since I needed to do this anyway, I thought I would go ahead and bring the camera along and kind of talk you through my process. So the first thing that we have here, we have our
giant thingy,
in the words of Lily, our 1020 tray. This is from Bootstrap Farmer. They're not the only supplier, but they are a supplier that I have had good success with. This is my third year starting seeds with this tray, and probably my fifth season overall because I do some fall gardening as well. And then I have this 72 cell insert that's going to go in here. This is what's going to actually hold the soil and the seeds. Now wow! Words are hard, huh, Lily?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as the soil goes, you can use a seed starting mixture. I know that Jiffy makes an organic one. There might be some other brands out there. I believe Fox Farms has a specific mixture for soil starting. I actually just go ahead and use potting soil because I like to leave my seed starts in the little cells until I see roots come out of the bottom, and then I will transplant them at that point. So I like to make sure that the soil is providing enough nutrients for them to get a good start on their growth. So the soil that I'm using is actually Fox Farm Ocean Forest. It is a little bit on the pricey side. My husband got it on sale, so that's what I'm using. There are other potting soils. I do recommend trying to get something that's organic and doesn't have the little fertilizer, the little green fertilizer balls. So that's basically the supplies needed, other than a heat mat and then eventually a grow light. For now, Lily is going to go ahead and get this filled with soil. You want me to show you how real quick? Okay. Lily, what's your favorite part of gardening?
Planting the seeds and putting the soil.
This is your favorite part? This is an exciting part because, you know, what's going to grow, what's going to sprout, what is it going to turn into once it does grow. We got some fun things that we're planting today, huh? So what I am starting today, I already have started all of my peppers and all of my tomatoes. I also started eggplants and nasturtiums. So what I'm starting today is actually basil and some other herbs like cumin and dill, cilantro, peppermint, some other things, and then we are starting a ton of marigolds. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you want to make it pretty even with the top. If it's not perfect, that's okay, but you want to fill in all 72 cells, okay?
72?
Yeah. And I am just going to move camera a little bit right here. We are in the greenhouse today. It is supposed to be 63 degrees for the high, so it's a beautiful day to be out here starting seeds. We aren't going to leave these out here. These will go inside onto heat mats. Once everything sprouts really well, then it will go under the grow light and the dome will come off. So this tray is actually going to be marigolds and some culinary herbs here. So this morning, Lily and I went ahead and started labeling everything that we're going to plant, everything that we're going to seed start with today. So we have all of our labels. These are all marigolds. This is 60 labels for marigolds. And then we have 12 culinary herbs, so that's going to fill up the 72 herb tray. I do have herbs up on the patio that are still growing. That's why I'm not growing as many of those, because once a lot of these get established, they'll just go. And then I have a 32 cell insert that I will be planting basil in. So 32 basil starts will be coming. Anything from just regular Genovese basil to lemon basil to Thai basil to Tulsi holy basil, purple ruffles, all kinds of pretty stuff, huh? Are you excited about basil?
Yeah, because we get to make pizza with it.
You get to make pizza with it? Okay. It's also going to smell really good out in the garden, right? You need some help?
Yes.
Okay. Now that we have all of the soil, what we need to do is we need to wet it, because we want to make sure that this soil is nice and moist before we start putting the seeds in. And I'm going to dump the soil out of my shoe. That's hard. Okay, and this makes a big mess, which is why I suggest doing it outside. In our case, we're in the greenhouse.
Still technically outside because it's outside.
Okay, and then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our labels in. Now, this is 12, and we have 12 of each marigold. So if you want to just take it down like that, okay? And then the next row, you want to do that? Here, just take the whole thing. Just try to keep, there you go. So she's just going to insert all of the labels in there so we know where we're going to put our seeds. And then while she does that, I'm going to talk to you for a quick minute about what you can do if you actually have not started your seeds yet. And you're sort of still in the planting stages. Even if you're in North Texas, please don't feel like you are behind on the game. We have a very long growing season, so you can certainly go ahead and start your seeds now. But if you're in another growing region where it might be a little bit cooler, some things that you can do to go ahead and get ready. Look up your estimated last frost date for your zip code. Not necessarily your growing region, because even within each region, there's many different factors that affect the overall climate. So, like my in-laws, their frost date is one day different than mine, even though they're only 30 minutes from me. So Google that last start date for your zip code. Then you're going to create a little bit of a seed starting calendar based on that. Almost dropped my binder. Based on that information, you're going to start your seed starting calendar. And this is kind of what it looks like. Okay, so write down your last frost date and then just start working backwards. 10 weeks, 9 weeks, 8 weeks, da 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 da, and go ahead and schedule out what you want to plant on those dates. Most of your tomatoes and your peppers are going to be 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. I did start my peppers early because, sorry, the dog is really silly right now. I started my peppers before I started my tomatoes because they can be a little bit slow to get going. And you'll see that later in this video whenever I talk to you about uppotting from your seed starting insert tray into these. So once you have that calendar written down, you have your plan mapped out for what you're going to start when, then you create your planting list. And you can do this in Excel, you can do it on your phone. I like to do it on paper because I like to cross things out and make a lot of changes and stuff. So you're going to write what it is that you're starting. If you can see that, I'm so sorry. You're going to write what it is that you're starting. So like this says hot pepper, then you're going to write what variety. I did include a little bit of like indeterminate or determinate information, and then I'm so sorry that that's hard to see. Okay, so then you have the date that you're going to plant it, and then these little numbers here are how many of each one that I am planting. And I base that on two factors. The first factor is where I'm going to plant it. So like actually three factors, I apologize, let me back up. So my hot peppers are going into a green stalk. Green stalk has 30 pockets, so I have space for 30 hot pepper plants. The end. So that went into my calculations for that. Then the other part of that was I am starting a few extra for my in-laws just to get them some salsa makings going. And then The last factor is how many cells I have in my tray. So I already know, 30 of those cells plus whatever I started for my in-laws are taken up for...
This one's blank.
That one's blank? What did it go with, Mexican mint? Okay, just go ahead and put it there and I'll write it later. That way we don't lose track. Thank you. You're doing a very good job. It looks beautiful. Very organized. So, based on how much space you have, how many cells are in your starter tray. Now you don't have to use a starter tray. You can use any number of things. You could skip straight to this point. You could use solo cups with holes drilled in the bottom. You could even use like the K-cups. You could recycle those and start your seeds in those. Keep in mind that the smaller item that you start your seeds in, the sooner you will need to transplant. Good job. She's almost done. So create your calendar, create your planting list where you're literally detailing out how many of each thing you're going to plant and what of each thing you're going to plant. Once you have that determined and it's seed starting day for whatever you're starting, go ahead and make your labels and make them to match your sheet that you made where you're counting out how many of each variety. So like we have 12 of each marigold, each type of marigold that we're planting, so we had to create 12 labels because they're not all 12 are not going in the same spot. They're going to be all over the place, and I still want to be able to identify this marigold is a Queen Sophia, or this one is a strawberry blonde, or this one is a Kilimanjaro white. You finished? Okay. Put the culinary herbs in that last row or column. Thank you. Okay. Then after you have your labels made and you're all organized and you're ready to go, then you can start planting. So fill your vessel, whatever you're using, with the good potting soil, wet it, label it, and then you're going to plant your seeds based on whatever the seed packets recommend. If they don't say, then a good rule of thumb is twice the size of the seed. So like a tomato seed is probably like 1/8 of an inch. You would plant it 1/4 of an inch deep. Does that following me there? There's a lot of math involved in gardening. All right. So we are going to go ahead and get started with the marigolds. This is I use a I use a 3-ring binder with photo sheet protectors to organize all my seeds. I just brought out the sheets that I needed, and we are going to start with this guy right here.
Dirt on me.
It's okay, gardening is messy.
Yeah, I can change my shirt later.
So, what I used the other day to make divots was this screw. I forgot to bring my dibber out. So this says 1/4 of an inch. See? So that's about that deep. That's not very deep at all. So Mommy will make divots for these, and then
I can plant the seeds.
you can plant the seeds. Typically, whenever I'm starting seeds, I like to put 2 seeds per cell. That way I can ensure that something is going to germinate in that cell. If both seeds happen to germinate, I can either thin it or decide what to do later. If I get a whole bunch of extra marigolds, I'm not going to be mad about that. So I can plant them in the front. I can plant them in this flower bed here by the patio. All through the garden I can plant them, so I'm not going to be upset if there's extra. My seed packets, I use washi tape to reseal them. Because sometimes the original adhesive on them just doesn't reseal very well. So I use washi tape, that way I can open and reclose several times without having to worry about, ripped packaging or it not holding and my seeds falling everywhere. Okay, so what I like to do, Queen Sophia, flip that one over. What I like to do after I get seeds planted is I like to sprinkle soil over it. Since we wet that soil,
I can tell.
yeah, it was soil. since we wet the soil, it did kind of sink a little bit. The water sort of compressed the air out. So this is a good way to just like bury your seeds and go ahead and fill up that cavity in the tray. Okay, so we need a little screw to make a divot. Now you don't have to use a screw. This is the most fanciest of utensils to use whenever you're trying to plant your garden. Another channel that I watch, she's a mad gardener. She uses a chopstick, which I thought was really clever. I do have a dibber inside. I just forgot to bring it out.
Do you want me to go grab it for you?
No, that's okay. The screw works just fine. It makes a divot that is like a really good diameter for most seeds. Now marigold seeds look a little strange, but most of the other ones, it looks really good. Alright. And if you haven't seen a marigold seed, it looks really cool. So I'm just going to take a second to show you here.
They look kind of like a peacock feather.
Yeah, they look kind of feathery, huh? They also kind of look like a quill.
Yeah, like the black part is the ink side. Like,
I don't know if you can see that. So see, it's kind of like frilled at the end, and then it has the black part. It looks really cool. So that is a marigold seed. One marigold flower will make hundreds of these.
How many do we put?
2 in each one. Okay, so we're not actually done yet, but we came across some of our herb seeds that said surface sow, so I wanted to take just a very brief minute to talk about what that means. So whenever you see surface sow on your seed packet, that means that it needs the light in order to germinate. A lot of these seeds don't need light, they just need the proper temperatures. So what you want to do is you just want to sprinkle them into your cell or your planting container, whatever you're going to be using, and then just press it in very gently. You don't want to bury it under the soil, you just want to press it in so that whenever it does sprout, those roots have something to grab onto. So we are going to go ahead and finish this tray, and then we will be back to finish up this. So Lily has planted all these seeds. She did a beautiful job. We covered it very loosely with soil. The next step is to water it one more time, and then we will put a dome on it. This is also from Bootstrap Farmer, and I like these because they have little humidity control valves. So you can either let more air in or kind of keep air from coming in. This one is kind of dirty, so I'm not using this one. I have some inside. We will put it on a heat mat. My heat mat has a temperature sensor probe thing. So I insert that and then I set the thermometer on it to about 76 degrees. I have not had any trouble with anything germinating so far with that temperature. So that's where I try to keep it for most things. A lot of times it will tell you on the seed packet if you're starting it indoors what your heat mats need to be set to. If you don't have a heat mat, I have seen some pretty creative solutions using either a crock pot or a heating pad, but I have not used those methods, so I can't speak to their effectiveness. I know that the heat mats that I got from Amazon were relatively inexpensive, and if you only start one tray at a time, you only need one heat mat at a time. I have one tray of basil that I'm going to start today, so I'll have to break out my other heat mat. But water this, put a dome on it, put it on the heat mat, and then you just wait. Usually within about 5 to 7 days with the heat mat, you start to see seeds. After 10 days, if you don't see any seeds, then you may want to kind of start troubleshooting any issues. Alright, Lily, I don't want to get your hair wet, okay? This is rainwater that Mommy accidentally harvested because I left the watering can out. But it's going to be great for this because the rainwater gives really easily plant soluble nitrogen that you don't get from like tap water or water hose water. Oh! And I spilled water on myself and my shoe. Okay, so I will go ahead and get my basil and stuff planted, and I'm going to show you how to transplant or uppot from this into your next vessel with a tray of peppers that I have inside. So I'll be right back. Okay, so after your seed starts have all sprouted and they have gained at least 2 sets of their true leaves, so whenever
Odie's coming to garden with us.
Odie's gonna garden with us? Cool, hello doggo. So whenever a seed sprouts, it's going to have 2 little leaves that sprout with it. Those leaves are not going to stay on the plant. As the plant starts to grow, it gets what is called the true leaves, which is the leaves that it maintains throughout its life. You know, the typical leaves that you think of whenever you see the plant. And then the 2 original leaves will fall off. And I see one here that I can show you here in just a moment. Once you have 2 sets of true leaves, so meaning you have 4 leaves, then you can go ahead and start transplanting. Now I like to wait until the plant is a little bit bigger, and I like to wait until I can see roots coming out of the bottom, and then that's whenever I transplant. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so first let me show you this lemon drop here. So this little leaf here is what was on it whenever it originally sprouted, and then this is the first set of true leaves. Now these bigger plants, they have more sets of true leaves. So you can see that plant has several, the Puma pepper. This is what I'm looking for whenever I know that it is time to transplant. You can see lots of healthy roots coming out of the bottom. Now what I do with my seed starts, once I move them under the heat lamp that I forgot to mention, is I water from the bottom. If you water from the top, you might cause an issue where the soil is too wet for the stem and it will start damping off, and then that kills the plant and there's not really a way to bring it back. Now the top of your soil is going to look very dry and crusty, but because you water from the bottom, the roots are going to soak up all that water, and then there's also going to be wicking. So the soil below this very top layer is going to be nice and moist. So most of these plants are healthy. This plant sprouted and died, and that happens sometimes, but I have an extra, so it's okay. And then once you begin, let me back up. Woo! Pretty thing. Once you're ready for transplanting, then you need a clean tray, and then your bigger. Oh, he's probably a bee. And then your bigger container. Now you can move up to these 2.5-inch pots. You can move up to solo cups with holes drilled in the bottom. Anything that has a drainage hole so that you can continue to water from the bottom. Okay, so whenever you're ready, not that one, you can tell that one hit the ground. You want to use planting cups that are cleaned and sanitized. So whenever I'm going to plant, I will wash these first with dish soap and water to sort of shake off any loose dirt, and then I will wash them with a very mild bleach solution just to kill any sort of bacteria or fungus. Some people will use hydrogen peroxide, like a food grade hydrogen peroxide that's diluted pretty heavily. That's all just personal preference. Some people will just run these through the dishwasher. Okay, so obviously whenever it comes to transplanting, you need your plant, your next vessel, the watering tray. You're going to need more soil, and then one other thing that I like to do is I do like to add just a little bit of fertilizer. So I will add a tiny bit, and I'm talking maybe like 1/4 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon, very, very small bit of earthworm castings, and then even less of blood meal and bone meal. Now, bone meal is going to provide phosphorus, which is really good for the health of the roots. The blood meal is going to provide nitrogen, which is really good for leaf growth. And then the earthworm castings are just all around magical nutrition for your plants. So let's go ahead and get started with this. I like to work top to bottom, top row, left to right, on down until I get to the bottom right. any cells where there's not a plant growing, obviously I'm not going to be transplanting. However, some of these multiple seeds sprouted. So since I will have 2 extra cells here, I can just add in, you know, divide these plants and then use those extra spaces that way. So the first one that we're going to start with is the Ahi Crystal. I'm going to place the label into the container so I don't forget it later. And then take just a little bit of soil into the cup. Okay, and then after I put the soil into the cup, I'm going to add just a tiny, literally tiny bit of earthworm castings. Tiny bit of blood meal. And tiny bit of bone meal. And then I'm going to stir that around because I don't want to give the roots shock from that straight fertilizer. So I'm going to mix that just a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and dig this plant out. Now there's actually 2 in here, but I'm going to leave it at 2 for now because they're still pretty small. These larger ones will be where I need to worry about dividing more. Okay, so you can see the roots. They came out pretty well. So then I'm just going to deposit that in there, and then I will fill it the rest of the way with soil. So I like to fill these vessels about halfway with the new soil, add the fertilizer, and then transplant the plant with a lot of its old soil into it. Yes. So Lily is going to work on transplanting the big gem pepper. So go ahead, move the label over, fill it about halfway with the soil, okay? And then we'll go to the next part. And I'm just gonna get footage of her doing this. Yep, it's okay, you can move it later. Remember, baby, it doesn't demand perfection. What do plants want to do? Grow, yes. Okay, that's probably good. Okay, so come behind you. Here. I'm going to get just a pinch of earthworm castings. You know what earthworm castings are? Worm poop. Get that and then a little bit more. Okay. Some of that. Ooh, that's a lot. That's some healthy roots. Okay, and a little bit of blood meal. Whoa, that's a lot. Not all that. Okay, the rest of that back in the back. There we go. All right.
My hands are all messy.
I know. So, set that down. Mommy will dig it out and hand it to you, okay? Or do you want to try to dig it out?
Can you do it?
Yep.
I don't want to mess it up.
Perfect. Alright, look at the roots on that. Look at the roots. Good job. Okay. I'm gonna try to kind of drop that in there, okay? Yep, get some soil. I need to scoop some more forward for you. It's okay if you get it in the other vessels, they need it too. Alright. Very good.
What's the next one? Brazilian starfish.
Brazilian starfish, that's right. Okay, so that is basically the process. Half with soil, add in your fertilizers, stir it really well, put your plant in, and then fill it up with soil the rest of the way. Once this whole tray is done, we will water it really well and then get it back underneath the grow lights Oh, you're getting ready. Okay. We'll get it back underneath the grow lights so that it can continue its journey to providing us some yummy food, huh? Yeah? And then we're going to clean and disinfect this tray and turn around and use it to plant the basil. She's going to continue working while I finish up this video clip. So that's all I had for you today. I hope you found value in this video, either with seed starting or up potting, as far as like how simple the supply list can be. If you do want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and don't forget to hit the like button too. And just as a reminder, we have the new Make It Monday series on Monday featuring videos from my kitchen, where I share recipes and tips on cooking and using up your harvest. So thank you so much for joining me and Lily today here in the greenhouse as we get our spring and summer garden rolling. And I do hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend. Bye!
Bye!
Howdy y'all. Editor Christi here. I wanted to take a second to go ahead and show you what it looks like once you have started your seeds, you know, like what your setup is going to be like. So let me just take a second here. This is going to be your heat mat. Like I said, I got this off of Amazon. It was relatively inexpensive. It does have the temperature probe with an adjustable thermometer that you just plug in, and then you set this underneath your tray like this one here, and you will set the temperature. See the probe I have right here? The temperature is set on that side over there. I have it set at 76 degrees. This humidity dome is set to allow some air to escape to reduce the chances of mold or something growing, but it keeps it moist enough in there for the seeds to be able to germinate properly. And then once everything is sprouted, you'll move it underneath these grow lights. Now, you don't have to get these fancy grow lights like this. You could use a 5,000 lumen shop light. It's definitely a more affordable option. You just want to make sure that you leave the lights on for at least 14 to 16 hours per day, and then you turn them off at night to give your plants a rest period. And then once you up pot them, or they get really tall, the grow lights need to be farther away so that they don't scorch your plants or you know, burn them or damage them in any way. These will actually be up potted today, so they will look kind of like that tray right there. But that's it. I just wanted to give you guys a look at what it all looks like whenever it's set up. If you don't have a rack, that's perfectly fine. Use what you have. Like I said, you don't have to get these crazy fancy lights. You can use a shop light. 5,000 lumens is what is recommended if you are going to go the shop light route. But I do hope you found this video informative. And if you are starting seeds soon, go ahead and comment below what you're starting, and let's have a conversation about plants.